Michael, if you can hear me, can you call me back again? There's something I'd like to ask you.
those funds become available from the province, we're ready to run with it. And the other thing is, both Councillor Waterfield and I were at a wonderful fundraiser that was put on Sunday called Trails for Tales. And I believe, you know, there's a group, the dog park people, they you know, they had great difficulties with that group when it first started out because they were hellbound that they wanted to have Douro Farm. But another group has come out of that and they have shown great character and resilience. And they are now, I believe, over $20,000. So they are, and that group, the momentum of that group is growing immensely. And I can see Councillor Waterfield shaking his head. They really are quite a great group of people and they're working very hard. I hate to see that.
Councillor Waterfield.
Madam Mayor, I strongly support the expansion of the group as requested. I strongly support the continuation of the group. I understand Councillors both concern in that the group comes forth with a number of recommendations. We do not have a budget for it. However, by having a plan and recommendations in place for the future, when either our budget allows or when grants are available, we're ready to go. The group that are currently meeting are very focused, they're very enthusiastic, and adding to Councillor McCrae's comments about the supporters of the dog park, their momentum, I would not want to discourage at this time. So I totally support the expansion and continuation of their working farm group.
Councillor Bolt.
Your worship, I'm not trying to pour water on fire at all. And I support exactly what you're trying to do here. I 100% support the development of Douro Farm. my argument would be that with 5 members, 5 sitting members, and if there's 5 dedicated sitting members, there's no reason to have 7. I think 7 possibly just minors it up a little deeper. I think 5 people of like mind should be able to make the decisions and bring forward the recommendations. Whether we get financial support for recommendations down the road is to be seen, and let's hope we do. But I would argue that 5 members should certainly be enough. That's the crux of it.
Anyone else have any comments? No, nothing there.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of going from 5 to 7. If we're having trouble with these 5 members, that's fine. 5 members that are gonna show up for meetings are not increasing the community to 7 just because we're having trouble having people show up. Secondly, I did attend the same meetings in Ottawa with the Minister of Recreation, and shovel ready is what they want. Well, I just finished sitting here a couple of years ago with Glassfield Park with all of our shovel ready projects over there, and we've just basically abandoned all those ideas from Glassfield Park's recommendations. So now we're gonna add another committee onto this with a whole bunch of recommendations that we may not do. And I'm kind of like Councillor Bolt to a little extent that I'm being told it's gonna be a very difficult budget year, and every new project we add on, we have to add new staff on, we have new costs for all these things. And in my mind, council has already approved to go forward with the Douro Farm dog park. So whether or not we have a committee looking at any other ideas for Douro Farm, that's a whole separate issue altogether. So, and as I said the last meeting, if I had my brothers, I would actually put on my hiatus the Douro Farm committee in total at the current time until we figure out what we're doing with everything else. Cause it's not a life and death issue. It's the biggest project we're gonna do over there right now that we want done is the dog park, and staff are looking to finish that. So I don't know what else you're gonna add to their plate. And I think that if we wanna say to the minister, we've got a whole bunch of projects, tell me why we're not looking at all the things we said we're gonna do at Glassfield Park. What happened there? So there in my mind is we have these projects already going, we've basically abandoned them to another project. So I'm not in favor of the 7 members, and plus I'm not in favor of continuing with the committee at the current time based on what I heard at our last budget meeting.
Councillor Bird.
Thank you, through the chair. I sat both on the Glassfield Park committee and I sit on the Douro Farm committee. I think council knows me well enough by now that I will speak frankly as to the financial situation. I have already said that nothing would proceed forward without a grant or donation. It's not something that can be underwritten by the town now or in the foreseeable future. Any of these changes. The deputy mayor makes an excellent point that not all the recommendations made by the committee have gone forward in the last year part. Some have, and I think perhaps that's on me, and I should sit down and have a conversation with Director McNally as to where we are on that. That's I'll take responsibility for that. I should have pushed it a bit further, inquired further where we are. But last year will be the same place, same situation. Nothing will happen without donation or grant. And then only then it would be a further consideration. May not be something that we could support financially.
This kind of reminds me of what happened with the climate change committee. We spent a few months, more or less discussing in generalities and not coming forward with any recommendations. And it wasn't until Billy Berrigan came up with a work plan that we actually got things accomplished. And Councilor McCready mentioned about the ministry's wanting projects that were shovel ready. Well, if there was ever any possibility of getting a grant or anything, you'd have to have a concrete plan, and it was shovel ready. Councilor Waterfield.
Sorry, can I just jump in? So with respect, council, the motion on the floor is just about whether to increase the size of the committee. You've already voted on establishing the working group in the first place. If you want to change your mind on that, we can bring back a motion next month. So it's just to decide on whether you want to increase the numbers or not, and then limit the conversation there for tonight.
Councilor McCready.
To you, Chair, I'd like to make a motion that, the Doer Farm Working Group, what was on the table, as the, amendment to the terms of reference, be as, for 7 members.
Thank you for that, but the work in progress is made, there's going to be a motion that needs to just be a repeat of the original motion.
Councilor McCready, your intent was to make a motion that's on the wording that's here.
So, you've heard the motion, Councilor Hurd.
Thank you through the chair. Was the deputy mayor, I'm just asking in case it gets lost in, were you going to make a motion that the committee be put in abeyance?
No, I guess it's not, we're gonna bring that forward next month. And we'll just- Sure, okay, so we have a motion on the floor to deal with this first part.
Any further discussion on the motion? Those in favor? Could I ask for a second, please?
I'll second that motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
So I think the proper, through the chair, the proper process would be to come back at town next month for your motion, but just so we don't go through recruiting 2 more members and then a couple weeks from now, council provides different direction. If you'd like to make that motion tonight, then there's no sense advertising for members and then coming back and putting a pause on the committee, so. If one of you want to make that motion tonight, then council can decide that tonight too.
So we're gonna just hold off on first motions on the floor and
Well, I heard it passed.
Pardon?
we haven't voted on it
Yeah, you did.
I'm
yet.
sorry.
We haven't voted on it yet.
She's called the motion, but we haven't voted. And we-
I thought we voted and 3 of us were in favor of it.
but she didn't ask who was against that
Oh,
one.
okay, fine,
Yeah.
Halfway through it.
okay, so we need to continue on.
So let's see what the result of that is. You can always,
It's in my discretion as chair, those in favor of the motion. The motion is carried by two. All right, Jim.
Barry, were you voting in favor or against that motion on the River Farm Working Group?
Michael, the sound on my laptop is so bad and the screen is still flickering that I don't even know what I'm voting on. So I think you should probably just write me off for tonight.
Okay.
So it's. Yes. Councilor Moore, we have a motion.
okay, so the other, the budget process timelines, my understanding, and I've got them in front of me here. The suggestions for, the whole budget timelines process. I have a conflict with the, special committee of the whole meeting review of draft budget for November the 12th. That is not a day that I am off. I'm off on the 19th of November for the whole day, and I would like to make an amendment to suggest that the 19th be inserted for the 12th as the special committee of the whole meeting for review of the draft budget. And that November, if there's an additional meeting required on the 26th, that meeting not start until 4 p.m. unless we can find another date that will work. Strictly because of the fact, like I say, the 19th is probably the most important date for me. I want to be here for the review of the draft budget. And if the additional meeting has to be held again, I might be able to make arrangements to get here a little bit earlier than 4 p.m. Not before. Not earlier.
The concern is it's hard to be a working man and be in council, so, what I might suggest is that the clerk take the wording, the situation you described and do a survey monkey, because it's really hard to do it here on the floor.
Madam Mayor, just a point of information, looking at my schedule, I believe at 10 o'clock on the 19th, the Kaivan CMC is scheduled at 10 o'clock that day. Just as a point of information.
Sorry, so through the chair, that is true, it's for an hour, so we propose then to start the budget meeting at 11 that day, right after that. And because we have to publish notice a certain amount of time in advance of the meetings and trying to fit the budget meetings in before December to fit the Calvin Council schedule for then. Appreciate the mayor's suggestion, perhaps we can do that for the second meeting, but for the first budget meeting is the 19th at 11 work for council.
Madam Mayor, and of course, that would be followed by a council meeting that night. Just as a point of information. So we would have the CMC Kaivan at 10, we would have the special cow at 11, followed by the council meeting at 5:30.
Through the chair, that was the reason, the original proposed dates, not knowing Councillor Volt's schedule at the time. But to try to fit all the pieces together and to, I think it's important that all councils able to be here for that, especially the first budget day, so. We could make the 19th work, I know it'll be a busy day, but, that would. Work best.
The 19th is fine with me, but as I expressed to the CAO, that many meetings in one day, and especially as we're discussing budget and other things, it's pushing it. Okay, so just
Thank you, through the chair. I'm probably the easiest one as far as being free on scheduling. It's important that we're all here, present, or at least have the opportunity to be present for that particular meeting.
Okay, so you're available, I'm available.
Unavailable.
Unavailable. You are available, and
Yeah, I have a question. Can you move the council meeting to the next Tuesday after that? Instead of doing the 19th, hold on, whatever the date is the next week? But it's not such a long way. I don't know what your scheduling is, so.
yeah.
Right now, we have a tentative cal on that date for the official plan presentation. Which, if council wants to start a little earlier that night, depending on your schedule, we could do a double header again. We start at 4. The OP will be about 2 hours and then, have council after that.
So. How?
So the proposal is to have the budget meeting on the 19th along with the CMC during the day. And then move the council meeting to be a double header on the 26th with a special cal for the OP.
Starting at 4 p.m.
Starting at 4 p.m.
I would support that.
So the motion would be the following dates. Or. How and also.
Special cal on the 19th for budget starting at 11. The November council meeting moved to the 26th at 6 p.m. Well, the special cal for the OP at 4. And the council meeting at 6.
Okay, 30 days is described by the CFO. That meeting was, added our account, number 2, 11, also 26. At 4 p.m. Okay, we'll do this as the amendment to the original motion first. Can someone move and second that, please? All right, call the questions. Yeah, oh, that's what I heard about. Okay, so those in favor of that amendment? So the amendment passes and we will now vote on the original motion as amended. Those in favor? Thank you.
So I just wanted clarification of what we just voted on, basically, CAO Tau is what you suggested, that the 19th will start with the Kai-Ven. And then we'll have the special, the budget deliberation starting at 11. There will be no council meeting that night. The council meeting will be moved into the following week, preceded by, the official plan meeting at 4 p.m. with, the Cal starting directly after that.
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that I only understood.
You're good. Can you email me that?
We'll send that out and we'll get the minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're proceeding on to reports from council.
I don't think we have a. No, ready to go to
Councilor McCray,
I think I'm supposed to make the motion on the consent agenda, is that correct? Okay, so moved by myself and seconded by David Byrd. That we, that the following bylaw and motions listed on our, agenda here today, that we are in consent and may be passed and numbered accordingly. An intersection for, the revisions that we made to the, 8-2-6 2025 budget process timelines.
thank you. Discussion, those in favor? Okay. Now we will go ahead to the local board and external board member reports. Which is county council. Just a couple of things, Aaron Lee from Children's Aid reported on the violent crimes against women and the work that was being done and expanded to a couple of South American countries. And also the Mike Dwyer, the planning manager, is examining the processes that are being used now for planning and trying to make an improvement there. Yeah.
The other probably big issue was that there's 4 organizations currently provide daycare centers for children in Leonard County because they didn't sign up for the CWELP, which is the $10 a day program. The funding is going to be cut off by the county, so that's $269,000. These 4 places will not have money for their programs, which will mean that the parents who use these 4 organizations will probably see their daycare costs go up significantly. The director of the program stated that what she's seeing is that if you're a family on Ontario Works, there's a bit of a supplement there for people to help them put their children into daycare centers. She doesn't see that these families are even going to be able to afford daycare anymore because they can barely make daycare as it is. And with the loss of these spaces, there's going to be less daycare and more expensive. So I asked her the question, and this is the comment I make at county council quite often, is that to me, the 2 most vulnerable sectors in our society are children and the senior citizens. And I keep asking county staff, what's their long range planning for children in the county and senior citizens in the county? I asked the same question at our last county council meeting. I said that the population is going to increase, but people over the age of 80 is going to double in Lanark County in the next 20 years. And yet Lanark County so far has no long-range plan to deal with this. When combined with the big effort Lanark County is putting in, as well as other communities, to attract new people to live in our communities. So we're telling these people we want you in Lanark County to fill some jobs, but we're also telling you that there's no place to put your kids. So the answer came back was they're hoping that the private sector will look after nursing homes and the future of that. I attended a session in Emo with the Minister of Long-Term Care was there. And I think the other lady was the president of the organization of nursing homes in Ontario. And currently in Ontario, there's 80,000 people waiting for a long-term care bed. And it grows by 5,000 people a year. There's not enough money and help coming from the provincial government to even address this issue. A lady gave a presentation and basically it was the future they see of long-term care in the province. It's basically you live at home, you start to get sick, you might go in a hospital. You're probably gonna have to go back home. So there's not gonna be long-term care beds, which means that your family's gonna have to look after you. And the final step is there might be the private sector who will build places that you will go and spend $7,000-8,000 a month to live in. So that pretty well prevents most people from enjoying their senior years. And as for the daycares, I had spoken to a member on county council who's running for warden, and I said to the person running for warden, I'd like to see what they asked me for my support, and I said, I'd like to see what your plan is for addressing daycares in Leonard County, because it seems like everybody's having the same problem. The director said there's 1,000 families in Carmen Place currently on a waiting list. Mississippi Mills, I think they said 700 people are on a waiting list. Leonard County was allocated funding for 170 positions by the government for the Seawall funding. So it kind of shows you there's no help. So on one hand, as I put to my fellow government people, on one hand, we like to talk a good show, but when the money has to hit the road, we're now going to take $269,000 away from these 4 organizations that provide daycare now. And she brought up the idea, well, the county has the opportunity now to use taxpayers funded money to keep these places going for children. And I said, I mean, personally, in my own family, I said, there's always the talk about, well, women take the punishment or take the brunt of no daycare because they can't go back to their jobs after they have children. We want the mothers to go back to work to help build our society, but there's no funding, there's no help for young families to do this. So, I sort of made a comment that was, I'm a little tired of listening to people tell me that we have asset management plans, that we've got to achieve all this road work and sidewalk work and grass work and park work and all this stuff. Yet, what for? There's families can't afford to live here, there's families can't afford to raise their children in the towns. Or folk, we seem to be so focused on these material capital things and not focus at all on the ability of people to actually live and enjoy their lives. And I'm not blaming local governments, I'm not blaming local staff. But if you sit around long enough, I mean, I've learned more on county council in 6 years about housing and everything else. It's like, I'm so tired of these federal governments coming up with these wonderful dreams of $10 days coming, but now we're told it's actually going to be $12 a day if it comes. I attended a session with the minister last year in Toronto, or maybe it was this year, I guess. And the CAO of Leonard County said to the minister, we're here to tell you there's a major problem in Leonard County. There's no daycare centers for all of these families. What can we do? Her response was, oh, I haven't heard that before. It was kind of a flippant response. Of course, it didn't go over well with any of us sitting in the room. And then she kind of backtracked and she said, well, yeah, we're kind of hearing about this now. And she said, well, we thought stuff would be ironed out. It's really not ironed out. So we'll probably be another year, maybe more, before we can figure out what we're going to do. And then we find out that the federal government is giving the provincial government so much money for administration costs to set these programs up. But the administration costs of the provincial government is taking is significantly higher than what the federal government was planning on paying. So as you sit county council, you keep hearing all this doom and gloom, and I think most people on council remember a few months ago, county council cut funding to another daycare center, and we couldn't publicly express why we did it because it was a legal matter, but I don't know, like, we've got thousands of people in Leonard County right now who have no place to send their children to. And we're going to cut funding to these 4 groups that currently have it because they didn't join CWEL. And I think the other issue is CWEL only covers children up to the age of 5. So if I may be wrong, I'm not totally sure of this, but if you have after school daycares, you know, because the kids have to be someplace until their parents be on 5, I don't think that's really going to be covered anymore. So it's not the perfect world that we're being told it is. And so when I sit back and go, there's no place to send your senior citizens, and we're facing that tsunami coming, and it's just like, let's stick our heads in the sand and hope they all die off. And all these families with young children, we say to the mothers, stay home. Families can't afford to live, they can't afford to pay their taxes, there's no social housing for them. But so I'm kind of getting to the point when I do budgets and look at budgets is, are we so focused on meeting some kind of goal of some capital project or something else that maybe can be put off a little bit, or maybe not spend as much money and sort of accept the fact that the other levels of government are not going to really fund our local taxpayers enough to help them live here, maybe we actually have to do it. I don't want to do it, but I think that's coming, so it wasn't a very positive meeting to me anyway, county council, but a lot of them aren't anyway, because it's all about kind of.
So following up on what Ed said, when I was campaigning, there was a young couple just moved from Toronto, couple of little kids, a newborn, 3-year-old. And he said, I'm surprised in your campaign literature, you didn't know anything about the shortage of daycare. I said, I didn't know about it. So maybe as there's more publicity about it, I don't know, I mean, I consider myself fairly well informed, but if I didn't know about it, people don't know what's a problem, they won't do anything to solve that problem.
Well, if you want to know, if you phone most daycare centers now, they'll tell you it's a 4-year waiting list.
So at that time, the Teddy Childcare Center had a wait list of 300. The other problem is that even if by some miracle the town funded another daycare center, there's not enough staff to fill the positions.
You are correct there, but again, people in charge of our most valuable resource, our children, are the lowest paid people, and the people who look after our senior citizens and nursing homes are the lowest paid people. Compare their salaries and wages to most municipal jobs and other private sector jobs, the lowest paid people are the ones who actually are looking after people who need the most, looking after children and senior citizens. And that's why we can't attract people. You don't pay them enough.
Thank you. I'm going to the other end of this spectrum. I was at a hospital board meeting this morning and gave pretty extensive. The staff on the hospital was very good at reporting. And one of the things we talked about was ALC beds, which are alternate level of care, which are the seniors. And the number of ALC beds in Christmas Falls is such that they're 50% of the beds in the hospital are taken by ALC patients. And the other thing was, for years and years, I don't know why this is, and they don't know why it is, the hospital has been underfunded. They got I think a one-time only, injection of funds of 4.1 million from one source and 1.2 million from another source. So I asked, even despite that, what is the deficit remaining? Brace yourselves, 18 million capital deficit. So, okay, going on to climate change and advisory panel, I guess Barry's offline, so there has been a change in chair. I resigned and my spot has been taken by Brody Berrigan. He's much more knowledgeable than I am about what needs to be done and what the issues are. And another thing that we discussed was one of the proposed uses for the Rue Farm is to plant a lot more trees, but well, they don't come for free. So we're discussing possible sources, funding sources of more trees. And the reuse center is coming to an end, I believe it's Thanksgiving weekend. And it's gone well. One of the things that's needed is volunteers to open it up and look after it. They've done quite well with that. That being there will be the.
So as most members of council know, a couple of years ago, the government changed the law to the Police Service Act and required all municipalities in one county to amalgamate their boards. We had to create a new board. It all had to be operational. All the members had to be trained by a certain date or you were in trouble. Well, those dates have long gone because the government hasn't got their act in order as usual. And while we still have policing in the town of Perth, and I still get reports from the inspector about the instances we're having in the town of Perth, I made it known last week that I think that once and for all, the transition board, which is currently made up of 20 members in Lander County, we have submitted a request several months ago to the ministry to reduce the board down to 12 because a 20-member board is not workable. We'd be there all day talking about stuff and of course crickets from the ministry. But yet we're also being told is if we don't complete another round of training to be a police service board member, we will be kicked off the board as of September 30th. So I'm probably not going to take the next training I'm supposed to have by September 30th and they kick me off the board. I really don't care. And I'm hoping the rest of my board members do the same thing because the ministry is not doing what they're supposed to do and have this stuff up and running. And I did ask yesterday through Diane Smithson, the CEO of Current Voices for organizing things, to call the transitional board meeting and demand from our local representatives from the ministry, what are you doing? Let's get going, because everybody's got questions about policing and how much it's gonna cost, and I don't know if you've noticed, there's a significant increase in officers in Minot County now, they've increased their detachment size, which is good. There's a lot of changes that have been made, and he's trying to keep us up to date, but he really can't make any decisions and give more information, the board can't make any decisions and make changes, because we're just a transition board, we do have a board and a budget, we can't meet and do things, so it's a little frustrating for most of us on this board, but we've already had one person step aside. So we'll see how the rest of it goes, but I just want to let you know, if you hear about this, that most of us are frustrated going, we've done our part. 2 years ago, we were told to have it done, we had it done, and over 2 years later, we're kind of basically waiting to see what's gonna happen to us next.
Thank you, the Heritage Advisory Panel, Councilor Hurd.
He's not available, so I'll jump in there, I Chair. So, the report is fairly self-explanatory. There's, the thing I wanted to highlight is that the Heritage Grant allotment for this year is full. The Community Improvement Program still has some funding left for this year. That, anybody that's interested can look on our site and see what it's really in relation to facade maintenance or improvement. And I don't know how many more years we're going to be doing this, but there is still some funding left for this year's budget.
Thank you. You're gonna work on
Maybe I'll begin and then, Councillor Burge, you can jump in if I forget anything.
Okay.
So the working group was on Monday, September the 9th. We basically approved a project plan with timelines and, kind of a means in terms of community engagement. And that was presented by, Catherine Kelly. And, then, under new business, Angela Callahan, who's a member of our group, talked about the fundraising efforts of the, Bird Dog Park and the upcoming event at that time, which was just the, Trails for TLS. And that's about it.
The important thing, if I may, Mr. Chair, is emphasize what Councillor McRae said, that there is a structure and a time limit for the function of this group to bring back recommendations to the council.
Okay. Okay. Strengthening committee.
I have had no strengthening committee engagement since the last meeting. I have some coming forward. As a result, I have nothing to report.
Okay. Lamar County Climate Action Working Group, Councilor McRae.
Nothing to report. There has been no meeting. I've reached out to Jasmine Ralph to find out when the next meeting will be.
I was afraid I missed one. There wasn't. The BIA.
So, the BIA's meeting was August the 28th, and they have a full calendar of events moving forward with the fall and winter. This Thursday is the girls' night out, Glitz and Glamour, 3 to 8. The annual general meeting is on October the 21st, that's coming up. Shop, Stamp and Win begins November the 15th, and Once Upon Christmas will be again in November the 23rd. And speaking of your daycare workers, I will be working with Montessori and a number of different businesses, the Twisted Fork, Norfolk, Michael's Table, Reader Candy Shop, on an event that we had last year. It's called Cookies, Cupcakes, Crafts and Candies for children in the community. It's going to be at Ford's Mill. And last year we had over 300 children involved in that program.
Good. And you're on again, Chamber of Commerce.
Chambers of Commerce, as I already mentioned before, they had a very successful golf tournament. They got great feedback and very positive fundraising, results. Their awards gala is coming up on October the 23rd. They are reaching out to other municipalities such as Tay Valley, Drummond, North Elmsley, and Lanark Highlands to attempt to increase their membership. The board has volunteered, voluntold, I should say, board members James Buckley and Brian Perkins for the polar bear plunge for Hospice Hub. And Nathiel Pinnock works 2 days a week on social media, the social media calendar. And the Christmas party is on November the 29th at Carroll Hall. They have 2 workshops coming up, one September, sorry, that one's passed. One on November the 13th. It's called, I believe it's Hacker Therapy Speaker. And that's Janet Brett, and it's basically about clearing your head and organizing your thoughts through journaling. So that's what they're doing.
What bingo is coming up on 16th?
Ready?
The black tie bingo is coming up on the 16th November. I think there's a date wrong.
You better send that to me, Judy.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, nobody don't know about it, it's hospital foundation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next is Councilor Waterfield.
Some highlights from the June 17th meeting of the library board. We reluctantly accepted a letter of resignation from Andrew Kendrick, counselor from Tay Valley, from the board for health reasons, and subsequently he has also resigned from Tay Valley Council. We did a debrief with regards to a appreciation event for the Friends of the Library, and we determined the terms of reference for the negotiating committee for the upcoming contract negotiations with the library staff. So those are highlights from the June 17th meeting.
All right, and with another hat, RDCA.
There was not a specific agenda item for either Rideau Valley Conservation Authority or the Lanark County Traffic Advisory Working Group for me to reference. So just a point of clarification, with regards to these updates, I see that in the actual agenda, there are minutes from meetings like in May and June and so forth. So it was my interpretation that we share with council any relevant highlights from those particular meetings, from those agendas, rather than giving highlights what currently is happening. So I just wanted clarification here. I'm hearing both tonight, so I'm just wondering.
It's a good point.
Repeating ourselves.
Well, because what will happen is that the minutes from current meetings will be in our agenda in 2 months' time. So, you know, we're going a little bit round in circles, so I just want clarification for myself and fellow councilors. The purpose of this is that we have as I understand it, we have the minutes from our various committees we're on. The idea is we kind of look at the agendas and say, are there any particular highlights that fellow council would like to hear? But if we do that and we also update current things, then when those agendas come up, we're doing the same thing. So I think we need to do one or the other.
Through the chair, I would suggest that you give current highlights, and if anyone has questions on the minutes, just because sometimes they're a couple months old by the time it gets here, I would give current highlights, and if anyone else has questions on the minutes, and they can ask, otherwise stick to the current highlights, and that way it keeps it timely, and
Exactly. I think that's a good way to go forward because I was hearing both tonight and I was getting kind of confused, so. Let's all agree to just give current highlights from our various committees, and if anybody has questions from any meetings from 2 months ago, we'll be glad to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. So Councillor Byrd, moved by Councillor Byrd, second by Councillor Waterfield. The accepting those reports.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved, the Council of the Town of Perth receive council, committee, local boards and external board reports and minutes as presented.
Okay, those in favor? Unanimous, with those present. Okay, questions from the media? Okay. Next meeting, not gonna read this, this is gonna change. We do not have a closed session. So we're not going to report on what happened. Councillor Waterfield, seconded by, someone, Councillor McCray, thank you. The motion to, confirm the proceedings. 9.1,
Would you like me to read that out, Madam Mayor?
yeah, the proposed motion.
Be it resolved that the Council of Town of Perth pass bylaw number 5179, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Perth at its meeting held September the 24th, 2024.
Thank you. Those in favor? Okay. Thank you. And Councillor Deputy Mayor.
So your worship, earlier in the meeting, I was asked would I make a motion to put in abeyance the Drew Farm Working Group. I'd like to make a motion to that effect. My motion is to put the working group on abeyance until March of 2025. So give us time to go through the budget process to see how much money we really have for future events. And part of that motion, I'd also like to see what's the current status of the last dual park working groups list of projects and the viability of being able to accomplish those. My rationale for this is that council's already approved that we are in full support of the dog park for last dual for Drew Farm. If there is a project to come forward next year, that'd be the one that we'd all want to see done. The walking trails, I use them from my daughter's dogs, they're fantastic out there. I don't know what else we could accomplish there next year. And if there was funding from the government, I'd like to see it go towards the dog park. And or something else that's already been approved to be done at Last Dual Park, because again, I don't want to sit here and have two different community-led projects and we're not doing anything. So my motion is to delay or to put in advance the Drew Farm Working Group till March of 2025. That will give us time to look at the budget and also to have a report brought back as to what's the status of those ideas brought forward from the last dual group, to see if any of those are shovel ready, if the ministry gives us some money.
Is there a seconder for the deputy mayor's motion, proposed motion?
Second motion.
Okay, Councillor Bolt. Discussion? Councillor Byrd?
If I may, through the chair. Would the deputy mayor be prepared to split that into two different motions? Because I'd be quite happy to follow up with staff on, and work with staff on that, what was recommended by the last dual park. And I quite happily can support that in a vote. I'm asking, would you be prepared to split?
No, I'd rather leave it the way it is.
Councillor Wall? So, speaking to the motion, I stated earlier that I fully support the efforts of the Drew Farm Group, and I continue to do that. I think it's a gem for the future that has to be developed and should be developed properly. If I was asked to put into abeyance the Drew Farm Working Group indefinitely, I would not support it. I think the reasons and the timing that have been suggested by the deputy mayor make a lot of sense. And to that end, I would support the motion as it has been presented. To just put it into abeyance until March of next year. I think that makes a lot of sense, but anyway, that's it.
Anyone else? No, so the motion stays as is. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Aye, the motion is completed. So the next motion is adjournment. Councilor Bolt, second by Councilor McCray.
Be resolved, the council of the town of Perth adjourned the September 24th, 2024 council meeting at 6:27 PM.
Those in favor?